Hello everybody in all three Baltic states today. My name is Arturs and I'm project manager from Squalio. Thank you for joining Squalio on Keeper Security joint webinar. So today, as we all know, employees of many companies are working remotely and work from home has finally become the new normal. Unfortunately, because of the remote work, activity of cyber criminals has increased. Thus, password security is now the front line of IT defense for many organizations in their battle to stop data breaches. And to discuss the latest trends in password security, joining us on webinar is Jens Starfriend from Keeper Security. Hello, Jens.
Good morning, Arturs.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and just a quick reminder before we begin. At the end of this session, we will have a Q&A, and also, so feel free to prepare your questions, and also there will be a contest where all of you can participate and win Keeper Security license for 1 year. So thank you, and back to you, Jens.
Thank you, Arturs. So today, welcome everyone. As Artur said, we are going to have a presentation of Keeper Security. And before that, I'm going to have a PowerPoint presentation, takes approximately 5 minutes, and then we're going over to a demo where I'm going to present the end user interface and then also our admin console. I also have in this PowerPoint presentation some additional links which you can get in a later stage after this presentation. I will provide Arturs and Squalio this presentation so they could send it out to you as well. And then, as Artur said, we will have a Q&A. But let us just kick off the PowerPoint presentation. And as many of you already know, we are in environments today where a lot of people are working from home, and there is actually one thing here which is important. All the organizations out there, it doesn't matter if it's small sizes or big sizes, they're at great risk of attack, okay? And we see, I mean, only last year and a half, we see, for example, the Swedish car registration had been hit by hackers due to weak passwords, where they actually got all the registrations from Sweden, both from military cars and how should I say, customized cars. Okay, so there's a lot of going on there. Newspapers in Norway have been hit. Norfund, one of the largest capital fund, have been hit in Norway. The government was the latest hit. We don't know if that's because of a weak password, but their emails was hit here started this week. Marriott Hotels was breached due to a weak password. 5.2 million guests or their credentials were taken away. Okay, and it's a lot of people that, you know, sitting at home, going into web pages and stuff like that at the same time as they work, and they're using same passwords, both private and in the commercial, in the business. And that's a big issue as we have today. And you see here, I have some numbers which I'm showing you here. We can see we have done some how should I say, look around how this cost have been hitting the industry. Okay, so 450 millions in 2019 cyber criminals cost the companies. Okay, and it's like this. Okay, 70% of the breaches are undetected between 9 to 18 months before they actually before you notice it. Okay, and 80%, 81%, and that's very important, 81% of the breaches are due to weak passwords. Okay, and as you can see, you can read here yourself, 90% of the employees, their password can be hacked or cracked before less than 6 hours. Okay, and there's a lot of information here which you can take into consideration. That could be in your organization. Can be in your colleagues' organizations, so on. But this is the information we are getting, and it actually starts with password security. Okay, we see that straight on for many companies. I had a company in Denmark, for example, a small company. Now we're talking about 25-30 employees. They were hit due to a weak password. A former employer left the company, and then he was malicious, so he went back, used the same password, came in, and the company almost got bankrupt due to this situation. So it is very, very important to have complex password and rotate the passwords. Okay, that's also important. But there, of course, some companies, as I mentioned, they don't have any visibility of the employees' passwords and so on, and that's where we're coming in with our password management tool. You will see this in the demo, where you actually can get an overview who has weak and strong passwords in the organization. And that's the one of the problem they have in each organization, as we see it when we're talking to business leaders and the security information leaders and so on. The second one is that some companies are too cautious. Okay, so they're putting too much pressure on the employees, that you have to have this security and so on, and you can't do this, and then it goes over their heads, and then they don't care about it. Okay, so that's another issue. So that's why it's important to have a level where the employees find it easy to work, but at the same time from a security point of view. Okay, to secure the organization, that's the most important thing, okay, today as we see it. And that's where we are coming in. Okay, we have a leading solution. And that's something I'm going to show you in the demo as well, how we're working. We have multi-layer encryption, and we have zero knowledge and so on, which I'm also going in depth what that means from our point of view. We, Keeper Security, we were founded by two people in the States in 2011, Craig and Darren. We have today 220 employees. We're growing rapidly. We have 4 offices. We have 2 in the States, Chicago and San Francisco. We have 1 here in Europe, where I'm sitting in Cork, and then we have 1 in Asia. Okay, and the thing is, actually, many people don't know about Keeper Security, but we are securing more than 12 million people out there with our password management tool, and thousands of businesses. Okay, just in the business now, a couple of months ago, we covered more than 1 million people in businesses. Okay, and we are growing rapidly. Why is that? Many people, organizations are looking at us as best in class security. We're extremely flexible, which I'm going to show you as well. And the vault, where you save all your passwords, are easy to use. It's not just the end user vault, but it's also from admin console. It's extremely easy to provisioning. Provisioning means that we inviting people to the solution with integration with Active Directory, SCIM, single sign-on, and so on. And that's something I'm also going to show you. But if you having any challenges, then we are there as well with our support. And that's another thing which is very, very important for us, that we try to support our customers. And also we have some onboarding sessions to develop or roll out the solution in organizations in an easy way. So what happens if you don't have a Keeper Security? Okay, as I mentioned, organization, they don't know about the passwords. what people are using for passwords. Are they secured? How strong are they, and so on. They could be very poor visibility, as I mentioned here. And then, of course, many organizations have the problem with the cost of password, that people in the organization are forgetting the passwords, and then they need to go back to the desk, to the help desk, and ask, okay, could you reset my password? And that's what we see a lot as well when organizations come to us and asking for our solution. Single sign-on, as I mentioned before, that's something that, as Office 360, they're getting more and more complex, okay? But there are also some other solutions out there where you are logging in where they have quite weak single sign-on, okay? So what happens then if you have keeper security? So first of all, okay, you can create unique and strong password through keeper security, okay? You get the visibility from an admin perspective, both as an admin person, but also as a single user. And that's something I'm going to show you as well, due to our reporting, advanced reporting and alerts module. Reduce password-related help desk costs, because you only need one master password to come into our solution. And from there on, you use our solution as a single sign-on solution. And that's something I'm going to show you as well. And then, of course, happy and productive employees on all devices, okay? So let us kick off, okay, and do the demo. I'm going to do like this here. I hope everybody can see this one here. Why do I have this web page up? This is on this web page, there's a lot of content, okay? And that's something I would like, or I would recommend you to go in and have a look at, and especially down here in the bottom, okay? And we are a security company, and everything we are doing is based on security. And you can read about how we have secured our solution, okay? So we are very, very open about how we have built it up and how we're working with the security, how we can, for example, private keys, encryption keys, public encryption keys, and so on. And our solution is built on AES-256-bit, okay, encryption. We're talking about something called zero knowledge, or true zero knowledge, and this is very, very important to understand. For us, true zero knowledge, that means that only the owner of his vault, where he saves all his password, knows the content of that information in that vault if he hasn't shared it with someone else. And that's very important, because we, as a vendor from Keeper Security, we don't have any visibility in each person's vault, okay? The admin person for the solution, he doesn't have it either. And that's something I'm going to show you as well when we are going into the admin console. We are also talking about encryption layers, okay? We have up to 6 different encryption layers. And that is when we talk about the master password, which I'm going to show you soon. We have a 2-factor. We have, for each folder we're creating, that's a 3rd encryption layer. We have a record, which I'm also going to show you how to create a record. That's a 4th. And then if you have attachment, that's a 5th. And then on top of that, we have a 6th layer where you have actually a 2-factor on each record you are creating. So we have up to 6 layers of encryption. Another thing which I want to highlight as well, all the information which is saved, okay, in our solution are saved in AWS, and it's saved in ciphertext, okay, unreadable text. All encryption and decryption happens on the device, okay? And that's where we have all the encryption keys and the decryption keys. And that's very, very important to understand that if someone gets hold of the ciphertext, they need to have the encryption keys, okay? And today, as I mentioned, everything is happening on the device. And today we are supporting tablets, iPhones, iPads, PCs, Mac, and Androids, okay? Almost, and even Blackberries, if you have that. We know that in North America, a lot of users are still using Blackberries, and that's why we're supporting Blackberries as well. And so as you see, we're covering all the devices out there. And from a browser perspective, I'm going to show on our solution on Edge, but we also supports Firefox, Safari, Internet Explorer, Edge, and Opera. So another thing before I jump into the demo itself, okay, is that we have something which we are very, very proud of. We are the only one in the industry, password industry, which have ISO 27001 and SOC 2. Okay, you see the rest of the certifications that we have here. We also have some additional certifications down here, which could be useful for you as a customer. But a lot of the customers likes that we have ISO 27001 because many customers out there have that, or organizations have ISO certifications, and they want to have that themselves. So let me go into the solution itself, okay? So there's three ways of accessing our vault. So I'm going in, for example, here is the web browser. Sorry, web browser here, web extension up here, and then I don't know if you can see down here, we have a native desktop app, okay? And the native desktop app are used for offline access. So if you don't have access to the Wi-Fi, then you still can access your password by using a native desktop app. A lot of my customers are working in DMZ environments or middle of nowhere, where they need to have access to door codes, but also some server passwords and so on. And that's actually where they're using the native desktop app. But I'm going into our web extension, pressing here, put in, as you see, this is my username, put in my master password. Then I'm in. And as you can see here, from here, I can actually launch different applications or web pages, okay, by pressing here. But what I'm going to do, I'm going into the vault before I do that, okay? So there's a lot of different settings and stuff like that, which you can do here. But I'm going into my vault, and there are actually three views of my vault, okay? So be aware now, I haven't got a two-factor on my demo environment. And that's very important to understand, that when I put in my master password, before I would have come in here, I would need to put in my two-factor, okay? And today we are supporting SMS or text message, okay? Google and Microsoft Authenticator, dual security, RSA, you maybe have YubiKey, or even a smartwatch to verify that you are the person you are. So that's the way you can do before you come in here to verify. We have three views. This view here is a folder view, okay? As you see here, different folders. The difference between these two and this one here, or the two here and this one here, is that these two here are private folders. This means that I am the only one who knows about the content of Amazon on BBC. But then I had DocuSign, where I've actually shared that document with someone else. Okay. Here you have the menus, where I'm going in a deeper stage with you, but I'm going to show you the other views as well. We also have the record view, and then the tile view. And the tile view is actually where I'm working a lot with. So I'm going in here to my favorites, and this is the view I'm working with when I'm working. So one master password, two-factor, and then in here. That's the only thing I need to know. Okay, so from here, as you can see, I have Salesforce. I can launch that from here without knowing my password. I have a two-factor on the Salesforce to access Salesforce. So now what I'm doing, I'm waiting for the two-factor to come to my phone. I'm going into my phone here, and there will come a to there. I am going to accept, which I'm doing there now. And in the screen, as you see now, there will be a tick in the box, as you see here, and I will be routed straight into the solution. Okay, and you see this is my name, and so this is my production environment. Okay, and that's the same here. If I'm going into Amazon, and be aware here now, look at this here. Did ye see how many characters I had to my password there? As you see, this is my Amazon account. What I can do here, I can go into my account from here, and I can change the password. I'm going to change it and show you something here. And this is something coming up, a window, and this is a window helping you as a customer to change a password. So would you like Keeper to help you change your password? So I press yes. I do like this, and this is actually my existing password. As you can see, it's extremely complex password. Okay, I use my feature here called Keeper Fill, which is copy and paste. I press it in, I get a new password, and as you can see here, I don't like this. This is not complex enough. This is based on 20 characters. I can drag this up to 51 characters if I want to. I keep it to 41. Somewhere in this new password, you have capital L, capital S, a small j, and capital M. Okay, I'm going to use that. I'm using the Keeper Fill to paste in, save here, and then press OK and save it here as well. So what I'm going to show you now is the new password which I've saved. And as I said before, capital L, capital S, J, capital M. So this is a record for Amazon where I can, without knowing this password, I mean, I say good luck to you if you will know this password by heart. Okay, and that's how we are using our password. We are creating complex passwords without need to know them. We only launch them straight out from here on this tile view. Okay, another thing, we had this title today, why not use password 123456. Okay, and I created a password here, okay, with password 1234. And as you see here, and as I'm going to show you in a later stage as well, this is a high risk password. Okay, just so you're aware of that. So I need to change that in a later stage. Okay, be aware of that. But how do I create a record? Okay, very, very simple as well. As you can see here, this is our menu. I go into the yellow button here, press there, and then I can choose what to create. I can choose a record to create, folder, shared folder, and payment card record, okay? But I'm going to use the record here. I'm going to use a title called Baltic here. You're probably very familiar with that. I'm going to put in my login. I'm going there. I'm going to create a manual password. Okay, and as you can see, the red bar is showing that it's quite weak. And why is it weak? Because bad pass. Okay, so I roll the dice, and as I mentioned before, I can pull this up to 51. But if you don't want to use the dice to roll the dice, you can manually put in 128 characters, okay? But I personally would recommend all the users to roll the dice, okay? We put it down to 34, and then we put in Baltic here, for example, .com. We say that, and I can also add custom fields. For example, if I have a bank account and I want to put in my PIN and so on, I can do that here. I can do some attachments, and be aware of, as I mentioned before, we have 6 encryption layers. Okay, the master password was 1, 2-factor was 2nd, a folder is the 3rd, record, which I'm doing now, is the 4th, an attachment, which I have just done, is the 5th layer. Okay, so all the encryption or all the attachments you're putting in the system will be encrypted as well. And on top of that, we also have a 2-factor. So that means that, as you see here, for extra security on supported websites and applications, use Keeper to store 2-factor authentication codes for standard time-based one-time password. That means that, for example, if you're going into a web page through this launching by the record in the system, okay, then it will also automatically authorize you that you are the person you are to come in, okay? If you want to do, as many of our customers are doing, are using this note field as an agenda or instruction, you can put down a full essay here. So there's a lot of characters you can put into this field, okay? And then what we can do, we can save this, and sometimes I want to share. Okay, so what I do then, I want to share with a colleague of mine in the organization, for example. I go up to options, I do sharing here, and what I can do, I press here, I shared with user 11, maybe I want to use user 12 as well, and then I maybe want to change the permissions that they can edit and share this as well to other people. I add them to this, there will be an email going out, and now I've shared this document with some other people. So that is sharing on an individual level, okay? But we as a solution can also share on Teams, okay? So as I showed you before, these are the private folders. These are the shared folders. So I go into this test2 shared folder. In that shared folder, I have X amount of records of passwords, okay? I have shared this with X amount of teams, okay? And this is quite handy when we're talking about organization where they want to share for marketing, for the financial department, for the server guys or the IT department and so on, okay? Then you can share in a team level. You add from the admin console the teams who should be attending that team, and then you share to that specific team, okay? And be aware of, you can also, as a user, you can change here. So Danish records, for example, read only, I can edit, keeper test 111, that those persons for the teams can both edit and reshare that to other people as well. There, identity payment cards, okay. I can also put in my credit cards, which I want to use when I'm on the web pages, okay, and that's the secured ways. So I have my Bank of Ireland, I have American Express, which I'm using, and so on. Security audit. This is a self-audit, and as you can see here, I have 156 records or passwords in my vault. I've reused the same password 22 times, and I've 19 weak ones. This information here is pushed up to the admin person. I, as a user of my vault, have a visible view here as well. And as you can see, the green ones are strong passwords, the yellow is not that strong, and then I have some red ones, okay, which is not good at all. So as I mentioned before, I had a password, which I created, password 1234, okay? We have a function or a feature, breach watch, which is monitoring the dark web from hacked password, okay, or breached passwords, okay? And that means if I have a breach, or if I have a password which have been breached, I will be notified, okay? But it's not just me who's going to be notified that I have hacked password or breached passwords. It will also be my administrator of the solution. So this information here, as you can see, will also be pushed up to the admin console. Okay, so the administrator can see it. So you see here, I have 18 passwords which have been breached out on the web, the dark web. Okay, I have 20 in total, but I have ignored 2 of those because that could be door codes. Okay, it could be 244 or 1234 for door codes, for example. But as I mentioned before, password 1234 is not valid. Okay, so I would do like this. I would roll the dice. Get that, as you see, now it's strong password. Why is it strong? Because I have complex password. I save that, and what will happen? That will go away from here. So now I'm down to 17. Okay, very, very handy. If I delete a record, as you can see here, I've deleted some records already in June this year, in February 2019. If I want to restore them, okay, that I say, oh, it wasn't meant to delete this record, then I can restore it from here. Okay, and that's actually the vault in a nutshell. Okay, two things more which I want to highlight. Under here, under my user or my account, I can go in here and see, okay, the settings. First of all, if I already have a solution, a password management tool, I can actually import from that password, okay, in a very simple way. So for example, LastPass, I go in here, look at the instructions how to do it. And if I follow those instructions, it's very, very simple to import my password from LastPass into Keeper solution. And I can also export, okay? From a security point of view, as I mentioned, if the administrator haven't enforced me to put in a two-factor, I can do it myself here as a user. Very, very simple, okay? Another thing which is important, I'm talking about securing people's password, not in just organizations, but also on a private level. So in each license you as a company or organization buy to your users, they will also be able to create their personal license. Very, very important, okay? So to keep or separate personal information and business information. That's why we have a personal account as well, which they can have. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to jump into our admin console. So what I'm going in here, logging in. And as you see here now, this web address is trying to push me against US. So I'm putting in my email address. Oh, sorry. There. My master password. What will happen now? As you can see, I'm based in EMEA, okay, in Europe. So it will redirect me to the AWS center in Europe. And why is that? Because GDPR, okay. to be GDPR compliant. All our customers in Europe should be on our European data center. And that's very, very important. We have some global companies in Europe which have decided to put it on the US. I am going in with my master password again. There. I'm going to change. I'm in there, going into my admin console. And this is what's going to be met by you, okay? So this is an overview of the solution. So up here, we have something called Advanced Reporting and Alerts module. Here you have 85 different events which is monitored in our solution. Down here, you have the breach watch overview. Here you have the password score. But before we go into in depth there, I would like to show you how to invite people, how to enforce or put in enforcement settings on them and so on. So we have 7 ways of inviting people to our solution. We have the manual way, where you put in the full name, email address, or you have the CSV drag and drop. We also have another 5 ways of inviting people, and that's why we're talking about Keeper Security Enterprise Cybersecurity solution, okay? And as you can see here, I was mentioned Active Directory or integration. So Active Directory or LDAP sync, we have something called Keeper Bridge, which is actually taking out information from your Active Directory as the username and your email address, okay? And it will sync there. So if you as a admin person takes away a person from the AD, that person won't have access to the vault either, the business vault, okay? And that's quite handy from an administration point of view, but it's also very handy when you're inviting more people to a solution like ours. We will reflect your setup in your AD. We will have it in our solution as well. So it will be reflected. So if you have groups and stuff like that in your AD, it will reflect in our solution. We also have integration with single sign-on. So all the identity providers, which is using SAML 2.0, we will be supporting like Okta, F5, G Suite, Azure ID, and so on. Okay, so that means single sign-on means that you don't need to put in a master password as a user. What you do instead, you go into your identity provider, click on an icon, keeper icon, and there will be a request going up to a server which will be authorize yourself, and then you will be pushed in automatically to Keeper Security's vault, okay, the end user vault. So that's quite handy for some organization where they don't want to have additional passwords, okay. SCIM, that's our integration with Azure AD, with the cloud providers up there, okay, Azure AD. Email after provisioning, that's for real big customers like universities or hospitals and so on. Commando line, that's quite handy for our developers, big companies where they want to work with commando line. Then we have something called Commander SDK. And that's quite handy because here you can do everything you can do in the GUI, but you can do so much more. You can automate rotating password, for example, access to remote servers, access to remote desktops, and so on. And we are using a lot of the scripts in GitHub, okay, which you can also see here. And we have a lot of information here on different scripts which we can provide with, okay. And that's all, everything is all here is to automate as much as possible for you as a customer, okay, and keep the security as well. So what I have done now, I've invited people to the to my solution. I go into roles. I've created 4 roles. In your case, maybe you just want to create 3: the administrator, management, staff, employees. I go in here. In staff employees, I have X amount of users, as you can see here. I go in here to the heart of the solution, as I say. Here you can decide if you have a single sign-on. solution, then you just enable here like that, and then you go to next step. But if you don't have a single sign-on, then you have to decide how many characters should the master password be for the users when they are accessing the vault. How often should how often should they change that master password? You can do that here as well by enabling, and then you can put in every third month, for example. If you have biometrics, if you have Apple products or Android products, you can use Touch ID or fingerprint. When you have done that, we jump over to next step. You as an admin person can enforce people to use two-factor, okay? So for example, if they're using desktop, you can enforce them to every time to use the two-factor when they're logging in, or you say, no, I let them only use two-factor once every 30 days or once at a time, okay, on that specific device. So you as a administrator can enforce people to use the two-factor, and you can enforce them to use any of these two factors as I showed and as I mentioned before. Okay, very, very handy. When we come there, you can also say, okay, some of the people are only allowed to use the desktop. They are not use the mobile phone, the extension, web extension, or the web vault, okay? They're only allowed to use the desktop to access their vault, okay? And that's quite handy as well to enforce the settings for them, okay? Vault. Here we have some features. I'm going through some of them, okay? If you have people which is in the public areas or public spaces, for example, train stations, airports, ferry, yeah, you name it, okay? Then you maybe should have masked custom fields. Maybe you should have masked notes, masked password. That means that if someone tries to look over or peek over the shoulder of a user, they won't see the notes or the fields or custom fields. It's only dotted, okay? But the user still can use the eye as I showed you before when I showed him the passwords in the vault, but as long as they can type it and then they can look at it briefly, and then it will go back to masked again. Another thing which I would like to highlight is down here. You can enforce your users to create complex password on specific web domains or IP addresses. For example, you can say that they should have minimum 16 characters and one capital letter. If they're trying to create a password in their vault on a specific domain which you had put in, or an IP address, it will not be saved. Okay, they need to say to create 16 characters with one capital letter, and that's where the rolling dice are coming in, or the dice is coming in again. They will start using the dice to create complex passwords, no doubt about that. Sharing and uploading. Okay, so this is very, very important as well. Okay, as you can see here, I have already enabled two features here. Okay, and that's something I would recommend you if you go with Keeper Security, like prevent record sharing to users outside of Keeper Enterprise. That means that they can share information internally, but they can't share information outside your organization. Okay. Say for example, they have their personal account and they have their business account. They can share between colleagues, but they can't share from their business account to their personal account. Okay. In my way, as I use Keeper, I have my personal account and a business account. In the personal account, I have my driving license, passport, some credit cards, private credit cards, and some other web pages, which I need to use when I'm working in my business or during the days when I'm working. Then I'm sharing from my personal account into my business account. Okay, so that I can do, but I can't share from my business account to my personal account. So if I finish up at Keeper, I can take my personal account with me. So I can actually de-share the information I've shared to my business account and take that information with me in my personal account. Okay. I have also prevent export of records from web applications and desktop applications. That means that they can't export from the vault. Okay. They can't do a PDF and so on. And that's all about security. Okay. Keeper fill. And sometimes keeper fill, this small black dot with a lock-in could be irritating. So then you can say, okay, it shouldn't show up on a specific web pages or domains. Okay, so then you can put them in there. Account settings. Some organizations don't allow the offline access. So then you can just enable that here. Okay, that they need to be online. But then you have a group or so which should have offline access. Then you can create that role and do the enforcement setting to let them have it. Logout timer, if they're not using the vault, you can set that they could automatically log out in X amount of minutes. IP whitelisting. A lot of my companies I'm working with, the development companies and so on, they only want to allow people to access their vault when they are in the office. Okay, so what you can do then, you can put in your IP range in the office. As long as they're in the office, they will have access to the vault. When they're leaving the entrance, they won't have access. But at the same time, as you probably know, if they have the VPN and they are logging in from home, that will show up as they are in the office. So then they will still have access, but then you have secured that way as well from a VPN perspective. Transfer account, quite important, okay? As I mentioned before, zero knowledge. Only the owner of the vault knows the content of that vault if he hasn't shared the information with someone else. Transfer account means that the admin person can go in to a vault, an end user's vault, and take that content and move to someone else. But there's always a but. That specific user of that vault need to have accepted. Okay, if he hasn't accepted, no one will be able to access his vault and take his content. The only way you can do then, if that person leaves or have been asked to leave, is to delete his account and reuse that license for someone else. Okay. Next step, teams. As I mentioned before, creating teams. I had team 2. This is quite handy. Okay. In teams 2 here, I've created a team. In team 2, I have 2 users. I have enabled these here. So that means that people who have been shared records can't reshare it, they can't edit it, and they can't see the password. Okay, and that's very handy because some organizations want to be able to, or some organizations say that their employees should be able to access some web pages and applications, but they shouldn't see the password. Okay, so then they can launch without seeing the password, and they can't edit the record or reshare that record. This I've showed you already about the two-factor. Security audit, overview of your solution, who have strong, weak passwords. Overview, who has breached passwords. And as I mentioned before, in my solution, I had X amount of, as user 1, I had X amount of passwords which was breached, and the admin person will have an overview of what how many breached passwords I have, but he won't see specific what passwords I have. Okay, and that's all about zero knowledge. Reporting alerts. If you as an organization have one of these solutions, SIEM solutions, okay, you can push up information straight up from our solution up to these here so they can analyze the information which is created in our solution. You can also create alerts, okay? And this is quite handy. So in this here, you can get alerts by text message or email address as an admin, that if someone have been breached, some passwords have been breached in the solution, then you will be notified. If you don't have a SIEM solution or alerts, then you can take out reports. In this case, you can choose all users. You can say put it in a custom range. We can go back a year if you want to, or more than a year, July, for example. I can go in here. If you add all these here, you will get more than 85 different events. In this case, I'm going to use console. I'm going to fade console again, for example. I'm going to show you some shared documents here. And then I can put in the login as well, login there, like that. So, and I am going to add an IP address, and then I'm going to apply this. And here is going to come up some information then that you, as you can see here, I have done some sharing here to user 12, user 11, okay, today. I've logged in, okay, to the vault. I have been here. I had, when did I, you see a lot of information have been created here. I can, if I want to export that, I can export in JSON, syslog, CSV file, okay? So that's quite handy. This is an overview of your solution. And here, if you want to add your logo to each vault, this here, then you can drag and drop your own logo, okay? So this logo here will then show up in each person's own vault that you can see here. You can also here, when you're inviting people, you can actually put in your own message when you're inviting people. So that's Keeper in a brief overview. So let us go back and do some Q&A. So I open for Q&A. If you have any questions, please go ahead.
So Jens, we have a question. When sharing a record, does the receiver also have to keep security?
Yes. So since we are a security company, okay, and we are providing with a secured solution, that means that the user who's going to receive a shared password or a shared record needs to have a vault as well. So it means that, why do we have that? Because there are different encryption keys which is going to be shared, okay, between the user who's sharing a document or a record to the person who's going to receive that specific record or password. Okay, so that's why we have, or that's why the person need to have a vault himself. Okay.
Okay. And we have another question. Can the person receiving the record edit the record? For example, if it is shared with the team.
If he can edit it, or
Yeah.
yes, he can, and that's something I couldn't show you that today because the time is running out. But that's something I can show you if we're doing one-to-one, and there specific when I showed you here, for example, under my vault, I'm going back here on the test, for example. This one here, keeper test 111, okay, can edit and share. So this one here is user 2 who have shared, okay. And you can see that there, user 2 have done this, okay. And I, as a user as well as user 1, can go in and edit here that, okay? Because I have the right to do that in this specific record, even though I am on a team level, okay? So I can show that in a one-to-one as well if that organization want me to show that.
Okay, thank you, Jens. And I think now is the time for the last part, the contest part. So we will have an online voting. So feel free to answer the questions. And so thank you to all attendees for participating in contest. Thank you, Jens, for presentation. And with the winners of the contest, we will keep in touch, and all the attendees also will receive all the presentation and the recording of webinar in their emails. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Arturs.
Yep. Goodbye.